Well, good morning. Thought it would be fun to do a bit of a world tour. We'll tour the cave to start out with, check the place out, see what people think. It's a world that we've had going for 2.5, actually almost 3 years now. We started it in November, just about 3 years ago, right after the Caves and Cliffs update came out, where it expanded the caves into these. I totally wanted to live in a cave. I thought it would be super fun to go into a cave and terraform the whole thing into something completely different. And my wife thought it would be cool to build on a mountain, so we have an enormous mountain up above, and we have the giant cave down below. We thought it would be a fun way to set up a world, so almost everything underground that I show is stuff that I built, and almost everything above ground is stuff that my wife built. So figure I'll start the tour in the storage room, and we'll just go from there. So when we first started the world, we pretty much made a beeline. I checked everything out on Chunkbase. I went into Creative World and found this place. I think I probably checked out about 20 different worlds before I found this. So we came straight here. We set up a little starter base up on top of the mountain. It had a ton of iron and coal and everything in the walls of the mountain. So we were able to get a nice quick start from that, and then came directly down into the cave. I found this setup where obviously I've tweaked it and changed it. It wasn't completely flat and everything else, but I found this little shelf that was a good spot to set up a storage room. Initially, it was just a bunch of chests, and then I'd wanted to do a multi-item sorter forever. So when we came down here, I set up this panel of multi-item sorter, and then it flowed into bulk storage for things like cobble and stone and dirt and all that kind of stuff. The initial setup was the single panel and the bulk storage, and we quickly outgrew the single panel. And I decided to install a second one, so I went right beside it and put this one in. We used this for, I don't know, 3 months, something like that, 4 months, maybe, might even have been six. And then eventually just outgrew. It was constantly shulker boxing things inside the storage, and things started to not fit. So I sat down and added a third panel. At the time, I still hadn't done any decorative things in the entire storage room. My wife had done the nether portal with all the various nether stuff. She'd done that, but the rest of this was just bare stone. There was nothing in here. So I decided, all right, I'm going to add a third panel. And when I add a third panel, I'm going to actually take the time when the third panel's installed. I'm never going to add a fourth. So I'm going to set up the entire storage room and get it all decorated and everything else. Didn't really do a whole lot with the floor, let it kind of flow back into the original dripstone that was here, kind of covered up a few things, and then have it come around the corner. The storage room itself is a complete multi-item storage unit. The design is Silent Whisperer. You'll notice his name come up quite a few times through the cave. I'm not going to do a detailed run through. You should definitely check out his channel if you want to actually know how this thing works. But just setting this thing up actually taught me a lot with redstone. Things like a pulse extender. I had no idea what that was or how it worked, but building this showed me how that works, and I've used it in a few things since then now. Like I said, I'm not going to do a deep dive on it. You can go to Silent Whisperer's channel and check out how the multi-item sorter works, but that's kind of an overview of the redstone in the back, and now everything sorts for me, and I absolutely love this. I could not live without it anymore. So I don't know if you've ever used a multi-item sorter. This particular one, you basically fill every single block of every single chest, and then only the items that are in that chest can go in. If you start taking items out and don't replace them, the next item that comes through the storage, whatever it is going to end up in that spot, right? So if I remove the emerald, the emerald block, and throw in some torches, it's going to go into the system. Everything will light up. Everything will start going. There's item elevators at the back. So items will get shot up top, and then they'll start working their way through the entire system, going up and down each row, one after another, looking for a home. And if you remove things, anything can go in there. So we end up with torches in the emerald box. As soon as I put this in, all those torches are going to keep going all the way through until they get over to the lighting chest. So I've got torches in here. So eventually they'll work their way through the system and they'll start coming in here, right? What a great system. I hate sorting storage, and I hate having a big pile of shulker boxes and chests everywhere. So this is absolutely the way to go. I don't have to sort anything. I installed a shulker unloader at the very beginning. So anytime I show up or my wife shows up with shulker boxes that we need to go through and put away, all we do is take out any non-stackable items, throw them into the system here, hit the button, and they just unload themselves and sort through the whole system, including going into the bulk storage at the end. I also have this over here just for bulk items. If I know the entire shulker is bulk items and I want to put it in here, I can just put it right over top of this hopper. It'll go into this chest and it'll go directly into the bulk storage. And then I have overflow at the very end. So anything that didn't find a home, or any non-stackables or any of that kind of thing, like these music discs, or if storage is full, looks like slime balls are all full, so they'll end up in here, right? Great system. If you don't have a multi-item sorter, I hugely recommend. I love this thing. I've built it in this world. I've got 3 panels here. I've got a panel at the industrial district that you'll see later on. I was playing on a realm with a couple of people, and my base there, I built 2 panels of the storage, and we just moved to a new world recently, and I just sat down and spent like 4 days building 2 panels of the multi-item sorter. A few of us are going to base together, and all of our stuff is going to end up in a single storage. So I got that all set up for us. I love this system. I highly recommend. You should definitely check it out. So in addition to the multi-item sorter and the bulk storage, I have a few panels over here that are reserved for non-stackables, items that we're going to put away ourselves. I got a setup for potions over here. Obviously, I've got enchantments, I've got armor, spare elytra and tools and all that sort of thing. Music discs are in, yeah, music discs are in here, a bunch of that kind of stuff. So these 3 panels are non-stackable, or items that we're just going to manually put away. Obviously, up at the top, they don't sort, they're just open, so anything, it's blocked off up at the top. So these particular panels, nothing will go into. And then the overflow is over here. So that one is completely open and anything can end up in this storage. Every once in a while, go through, clean it out, organize. Anything that the area is full, like all this rotten flesh. I'm sure our rotten flesh over here is full. So all of that is going to end up in the extra storage. Slime balls, yeah, they're completely full. So I need to make some into blocks and should probably shulker some of this. Anything we end up with an absolute ton of gets shulkered and stored inside. Makes life a whole lot easier. You can see we got a bunch of shulker boxes in here, blaze rods, breeze rods, wind charges, all that kind of thing, right? Off to the side, all of our totems. These are all maps that my wife had collected and then entirely unlocked doing treasure runs. She decided to take all of them and just map the entire thing so it's fully exposed. So we've got that set up along the side. Over here is this is a super smelter. It's super convenient. It's a spaghetti mess in the back. It's terrible, absolutely disgusting redstone in the back, but super effective. So the way it works, when you hit the button, it's going to send off the cart, right? The cart is going to go over top of all of the furnaces and drop off all of the items that we want to cook. But it'll never come back. It'll constantly be going back and forth. When I hit the switch, it actually puts a block in place so that the minecart can't come back. So it'll just run back and forth along the track over and over and over again in a tight loop, dropping all of the items off instead of coming all the way back here and then all the way back out. Makes for a super quick delivery system. And then eventually when you want it to come back, you just turn it off. That unpowers the piston. It retracts the block to allow the minecart to come back. So it finishes the loop that it's on, and then it'll come all the way back here for you to be able to unload just like that, right? Over here is the fuel input. I'm using lava buckets, so it's the same thing. It'll go out, it'll drop off all of its items until you tell it to come back, but since it's lava buckets, it doesn't take very long to drop them off. It uses 24 furnaces in the back, so it does one loop, it drops off 24 lava buckets. If the system is full, it'll just come back with all of its lava buckets, right? So I decided to use lava buckets. This is the output over here, and this is where I refill all of my lava buckets. You don't have to climb in, you don't have to chase anything around. All you have to do I have any buckets? I have buckets. All right, so all you got to do in order to refill your stuff, come over here, scoop out a bucket, and stand on the pressure plate. And it's going to rotate all of these lava cauldrons around in a circle, and you can just pull them out as they go, right? It's all lava up top, so every single one of the cauldrons will refill over time. It's pretty rare that you're going to do enough smelting that you're going to burn through all of the lava buckets in here, which is why I have a little bit of a stash just in case. This one is the output, so all of the items that cook come here, as well as the empty buckets. After it cooks something, they'll end up in this chest as well, and then I've got a bunch of extra buckets up top to refill if I need to. There's 24 in each, there's 24 buckets that get used in the back in the smelter, and this has 44 cauldrons. So it won't quite refill the whole thing, so having a couple of spare is nice, but it's very rare that I need to do that. Go in and have a little look, and keep in mind I said that this was absolutely terrible, but we're going to go check it out anyway. So the carts move their way through, come along the track, and go through the system. So you can see right here where that minecart went. With this retracted, it drops down onto this track, which cycles around and sends it back, right? So the gold blocks are the items being dropped off to cook, and the iron one is the fuel, right? So if I go back to the beginning and flick the switch and leave it on, you can see the cart's back here now, right? So if we turn it on and leave it and go back through, oh, it's such a spaghetti mess back here. I totally don't want to redo it, but I really want to redo it. So you can see the cart comes along here and hits the iron block right here and then just keeps going. So as long as I have those turned on, they're never going to come out. But once you flick the lever again, it's going to retract and it'll allow this cart to come all the way back to the beginning. I really like the setup. I just would totally do it differently as far as the redstone goes. I'd have it tighter to the area so it doesn't have as far to travel. Tweak a few little things with it. As far as functionality, it's great and works really well. But the design, I definitely have some better ideas in mind now that would make it a whole lot easier. The only other thing that I have up here is a disposal. Um, if you end up with an absolute ton of stuff that you really don't need and want to get rid of, you can drop off shulkers here. You can drop off items here, and just get them spit out in the lava. It's just a clock. That's it. Nothing else. All it does is spit items out of a dropper right here and dump them into the lava right above. So that's pretty much the actual storage area itself. I'll do a quick little run through the cave. I'm not going to go into detail on any of it. I'll just do a quick little run through. I'll maybe do the top and then look at quick flight through, and then we'll see where we get from there. Um, Coming out of the storage, this actually used to just be flat stone. I thought it would be kind of cool to have a stalagmite dripstone kind of a setup along here. So all of these are handmade. None of those were there. It was just an open face heading off down the cliff. And it was actually much shorter. It was only a few blocks wide. So I expanded it, added the dripstone. I think it ended up looking pretty good. You're going to see these lights all the way through the entire cave. I wanted a common lighting theme all the way throughout. And this is a super simple one. Because I'm in a cave, it's constantly like it's night. So if I put these daylight sensors on night mode, they're just always on. They never get the light from up top, so they're constantly on. So I never have to worry about light. One thing I really wanted to try and do was to not have obvious lighting. I didn't want, like you can see the torches along there. There's very few torches throughout the cave. I wanted to make sure that I had some lamps all throughout to get some light and very little torchlight beyond that, right? Nothing here but a little bit of farming stuff. Obviously, the redstone for the storage is in the back. All of this is just some of the stuff that I haven't set up any automatic farms for yet. So got vines and glowberries and cocoa along there. Did a little bridge across the gorge. There was no way across, so did this up so you can get across just on foot. You could ride a horse in here, I guess, if you really wanted to. We've got the horses over there, but seriously, with an elytra, why would you ever ride a horse? Up top, it's a little more wild over on this side. There's nothing fancy to it. It's just, I just mossed the area and walked away. It's not even done. I haven't gone through and put any lamps over here, but this is one of the original areas that I was using within here. This is a super old style cobble generator. If I needed cobble for anything, I could just sit here and rack it up. Stone, cobble, whatever. It was nothing but a collection area, and then all the items flow in down here. I kind of like the way that the little pond area turned out over here. I think this ended up looking really cool. Little experiment to try and figure out how I was going to do things down at the bottom, and I think it turned out pretty nice. And this is basically the experiment for the cave down below. I'd never created a pond or anything before. This is actually the first place that I used the moss. I didn't use it down below. I used it up here. This is kind of a test area. I wanted to see what it would look like if I started doing this around the entire place, just to get an idea of how to do it, what methods I could use, how much clay I was going to need in the end, which ended up being quite a bit for each pond. And I just wanted to get a feel for how I was going to do the entire cave. That's all this was, is an experimental area. I didn't even bone meal the bottom. There's no plants. There's no whatever. Super basic introduction for myself into how I was going to make this work. I think I'm just going to go for a little flight through the cave just to check it out, and we'll end it there. But this is what I wanted. I wanted a giant, wide open cave that I could move through, that I could set up farms in. I did ponds in the area. This was nothing but stone with a little bit of dripstone when I moved in here. Um, None of these, like this stalagmite, was completely hand fashioned. None of it was there. There's a basalt generator inside of it that I just wanted to hide it. I wanted something that would look kind of cool and match up with the rest of the cave. I've got gold farm down here. I've got a concrete machine in here. I've got tons of custom trees. There's a moss farm. There's a kelp farm, bee farm. I've got a ton of things in here, all these custom trees. The pathway is 100% walkable. You don't have to jump anywhere. It's all slab stairs and solid blocks in order to make a coherent path that you never have to jump while you're walking through, which I thought would be a fun idea. Some ponds off to the side. I had these golems basically while I was working on an area as guards because there's slime everywhere down here. And I just, while I was working, I'd put a couple of golems in the area and they'd kind of cover my butt. And most of them have ended up in a pond somewhere. Um, and they're probably never coming out ever. Ponds all have vegetation inside. Trees are fully custom. Trees are completely done by hand. I really like the way this one turned out. I think this is one of my favorite ones that I've made. I think this one has a pretty interesting look to it. I did azalea underground here just to have it match the theme of the area. It's all moss, it's all azalea and dripstone, and I think it worked out pretty well. Had a lot of fun getting the vegetation set up in here, getting the trees set up, getting some ponds set up, trying some experimentation like having a little waterfall area coming down. Thought that would be interesting to do. Problem with doing something like this and spending almost 3 years on a world is you learn a bunch, and when you come back after 2.5 years and you look at something that you did in the beginning, there's always a, oh, if I would have done it like that, oh, if I would have done this. Like this gold farm here, originally I built one by Navy Nexus. It was a tutorial that I went off of. It was a quad portal gold farm with 4 trident killers. And it worked well. I used it in a couple of different worlds. I've been using it for a couple of years, and it was lovely. But then the bug with trident killers started, and oh, yeah, look at that. I mentioned it, and the tridents fell through the floor, right? So that started. The whole idea behind this is that you can access it, you can get your tridents, and you can put them up on the wall. It appears that my wife decided that she'd just leave them in there, and now I'm going to have to go in and collect them. Anyway, I decided to design my own because I didn't want to use the Navy Nexus one anymore. So I built my own gold farm, and in a rare exception, I actually tore down the old gold farm and built a new one. I built my original prototype at my industrial district, which we'll get to later. Um, but I made a smaller version over here just so my wife and I can come down here and fix our gear and not have to go all the way to the industrial district. But rarely do I actually tear something down. There's a bunch of things in here that I'm not super happy with, but I'm not going to spend a million hours going through and redoing literally everything in the entire place. That would take forever, and I would never get anything new done, and it's always fun to do new stuff. So I think I'll end it there for now. Next time that I'm doing this, I'll go into a little more detail. I'll actually walk through the bottom and show the different farms that I've got there. We'll just go for a tour on foot and see what we got going on down in the basement. All right, everyone. Have a good day. Enjoy, and talk to you later.